I wasn't supposed to hear it, but I did. I'd stayed late that night, again. Everyone else had gone home hours ago, but I was still at my desk, cleaning up numbers from a project that should have been someone else's problem. That's who I was back then, the guy who stayed quiet, fixed mistakes, made his manager look good, and thought loyalty meant safety. The fluorescent lights hummed like they were whispering secrets. I'd taken off my headphones for a break, about to pack up, when I heard voices coming from the glass office near the break room. The blinds were halfway closed, but the door was cracked just enough for sound to slip through. It was my manager, Chris. His voice had that calm, smug tone people use when they think they are untouchable. The other voice was softer, HR. I recognized the shoes I'd seen earlier that day. Fire him first thing in the morning, Chris said, like he was ordering coffee. I froze. My brain didn't even register my own name at first. Then I heard it again, clear, deliberate. Yeah, Evan. I'm done with him. He's holding back the team. Can you process the paperwork before lunch? There was a pause. The HR rep, Kelly, hesitated. That's sudden. Has he done something specific? Chris chuckled. He's just slow. Too cautious. Always checking things twice. Not the kind of energy I want here, you know. Slow, cautious. The same words he used in my last performance review, right before saying he valued my attention to detail. I stood there, half in the shadow of the copy room, heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my wrists. I wasn't supposed to be there. I wasn't supposed to know. But the universe has a strange way of letting you see who people really are, always when it's too late to pretend you didn't. They kept talking. I didn't move. I'll have the email ready in the morning, Kelly said quietly. Just, are you sure you want to do it like this? Chris's laugh was short. Trust me. He won't make a scene. Evan's the quiet type. He'll thank us on his way out. That one hit harder than anything. Because he was right. Or at least, he used to be. I didn't storm in. I didn't confront them. I didn't throw things or demand an explanation. I just stood there, gripping the edge of a file cabinet until the metal bent slightly under my hand. And then, slowly, I exhaled. When they finally left, I stayed another 20 minutes, staring at my monitor, the numbers blurring. Every late night, every email sent at midnight, every time I covered for Chris, it all flashed like static behind my eyes. He'd told me once during a team dinner, loyalty goes both ways, man. Apparently not. I walked out to the parking lot, the building lights cutting thin silver lines across my windshield. I sat there, hands on the steering wheel, trying to decide if I should feel angry, embarrassed, or relieved. Mostly, I felt empty, like someone had scooped everything out of me and left just the shell. It wasn't even about the job. It was about hearing your own name used like a problem someone needs to delete. On the drive home, I caught myself laughing. Quiet, bitter laughter, the kind that sounds like you're choking. I'd worked there 6 years. I'd turned down better offers because I believed in stability. Turns out, stability just means they know where to find you when it's time to replace you. When I got home, my apartment felt foreign. I looked at the notes I had written to myself on the wall calendar, submit final report, ask Chris about next quarter, then tore it down. I didn't sleep much that night. I kept replaying the sentence, fire him first thing in the morning. The way he said it, casual, confident, certain. By 2 a.m., I wasn't angry anymore. I was focused. There's a clarity that comes when you stop expecting fairness, when you realize the only person responsible for protecting you is you. I got up, turned on my laptop, and opened my old project folders. I wasn't looking for revenge. Not yet. I just wanted to see things clearly. The patterns, the numbers, the inconsistencies I'd ignored because I trusted him. What I found made me forget to breathe. Expense reports that didn't match the invoices, approval signatures that weren't mine but were attached to my name. It wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was setup. By the time the sky turned gray, I had a plan forming. Quiet, simple, deliberate. The same way he'd said it. First thing in the morning. Except this time, I'd be the one who showed up first. When I walked into the office the next morning, I felt like an actor stepping into a play I already knew the ending to. Chris was already there, leaning against my cubicle wall, smiling. "Morning, Evan," he said, like the previous night hadn't happened. "Morning," I said back, matching his calm. If he noticed the way I watched him, he didn't show it. He clapped my shoulder. "Big day today. Let's make it count, here." Big day, yeah. For one of us. I sat down, logged into my computer, and went through the motions. I wasn't fired yet, so technically I was still employed, which meant I still had access. I opened a spreadsheet I'd started at 2 a.m., cleaned up a few columns, and transferred the fraudulent files I'd found to a flash drive in my pocket. Every keystroke felt heavy, deliberate. I wasn't stealing anything, just preserving evidence before they could make me disappear. By 8:30, people started filing in. The same awkward laughs, coffee cups, and small talk. A few co-workers glanced at me, then quickly looked away. That's when I knew Chris had already started his quiet campaign. Rumors travel fast when they're convenient. I heard bits and pieces near the printer. Yeah, I think he messed up a client quote. Chris had to cover for him again. He's been off lately. Off. Sure, because apparently not smiling enough is a fireable offense. At 8:55, my calendar pinged, meeting with HR 9 a.m. Subject line, follow-up. They didn't even bother to disguise it. Chris passed behind my desk, tapping the back of my chair like we were old friends. Don't stress. Just some formalities, he said with that same rehearsed grin. I looked up at him. Formalities. He shrugged. You'll see. I almost laughed. I had seen. I'd heard every word of it. The walk to our office felt longer than usual. Kelly was sitting behind her desk when I came in, pretending to be busy with a stack of papers that probably didn't exist. Her eyes flicked up, and for a split second, there was something like guilt there. Then professionalism replaced it. Evan, thanks for coming in. Have a seat. I did. My pulse was steady, too steady. Kelly started reading from a form, words like team alignment, efficiency, and communication challenges. HR language, clean, bloodless, and full of poison. When she finally said the phrase, termination consideration, I stopped her. Kelly, I said softly, can I ask you something off the record? She hesitated. That depends. Her mouth opened, then closed. That half-second pause told me everything she knew. Before she could respond, there was a knock. Chris stepped in, like it was all choreographed. Hey, sorry to interrupt. Thought I'd sit in, if that's okay. Kelly nodded quickly, relief in her eyes. She didn't want to do this alone. Chris sat across from me, folded his hands, and gave me the kind of smile people reserve for funerals. Evan, you've been a valuable part of this team, but I think you know things haven't been clicking lately. I didn't blink. You're right, I said. Things haven't been clicking. Mostly because you keep unplugging the people who make you look good. He laughed that same thin managerial laugh. Let's stay professional, okay? Sure, I said. Professional. Like discussing someone's termination behind a half-open door. Kelly's eyes darted up. Excuse me. Chris's smile faltered just enough to show the crack. What are you talking about? I leaned back. I'm talking about last night. About how you told HR to fire me first thing in the morning. About how I was standing behind the partition when you said it. The silence that followed was thick. The hum of the AC sounded like thunder. Kelly went pale. Chris blinked, then forced a laugh. Evan, if this is some kind of misunderstanding, then you won't mind me clarifying it. I said, pulling out a folded printout from my pocket. This is your expense report for last quarter. The one you had me sign off on. The one that shows 2 separate vendor payments, both marked as client development. Only one of those vendors exists. His face drained of color. You don't know what you're talking about. Maybe, I said, sliding the paper across the desk. But accounting will. Kelly reached for it, hesitating like she'd just touched a live wire. Chris stood. You're way out of line. Sit down. You're not my boss anymore, I said, quiet, even. I just looked him dead in the eye until he sat back down. Kelly cleared her throat again, her voice shaking now. Evan, I think we should pause this conversation for the moment. Good idea, I said, standing up. And just for the record, I'm not quitting. I'm not resigning. You'll handle this the proper way, or we'll handle it somewhere else. When I left the room, the hallway felt lighter. The fear was gone. What replaced it wasn't anger, it was precision. I sat back at my desk, opened my inbox, and started writing one email. Not to Chris, not to HR, but to someone above both of them, the company's internal audit department. Subject line, financial irregularities. Attached, the evidence. I hit send. Then I leaned back, folded my hands behind my head, and watched the clock. 9:37 a.m. The day was just beginning. The first email went out at 9:37 a.m. By 10, I had a response. Thank you for the submission, Mr. Carter. Please do not discuss this matter with anyone until we follow up. Internal audit. 10 minutes. That's how long it took for the silence in the office to start feeling different, heavier, thicker, like a storm waiting to break. I didn't make a scene. I didn't gloat. I just did my work, quiet as ever. The same man they'd called slow. The same man they thought would bow his head and say, "Thank you for the opportunity." At 10:43, Chris walked past my desk, phone pressed to his ear, voice too loud to hide the panic in it. "Yeah, I don't know what that's about, but I'll handle it." I didn't look up. I didn't need to. By noon, whispers were bouncing between cubicles. Someone from accounting had been pulled into a private call. 2 IT guys were asked to review access logs. The HR office door stayed shut. When lunch rolled around, Chris's office was empty. So was Kelly's. I ate my sandwich in the break room like it was any other day. A few co-workers came in, glanced at me, then quickly found reasons to leave. Guilt looks a lot like fear when you've been part of someone else's lie. At 1:15, a name appeared in my inbox that made my pulse jump. Diana Richards, Director of Operations. "Evan, could you step into conference room B at 1:30? Bring your notes." Notes. I smiled at the screen. That meant they'd already opened the attachments. When I walked in, the air was colder than usual. Diana sat at the head of the table, tablet in front of her. Next to her, the head of accounting, and Chris. He wouldn't look at me. "Evan," Diana started, "thank you for joining us. We received your documentation regarding the expense inconsistencies." "Yes." She swiped through a few pages. "We've already verified 2 of these vendor payments as fraudulent. The third is under review. Would you like to explain how you came across this?" "I was cross-referencing old invoices," I said, "trying to fix errors. My manager asked me to sign off on reports that didn't match the actual amounts. When I noticed the pattern, I started keeping copies." Her gaze flicked to Chris. "Would you like to respond to that?" Chris tried for composure, but his voice cracked halfway through. His twisting this. Those were legitimate business development expenses. Accounting's head cut in, for a company that doesn't exist. Silence. Diana folded her hands. "Chris, we've already confirmed the EIN number belongs to a dissolved LLC registered in your wife's maiden name." The color drained from his face so fast it looked like someone flipped a switch. I didn't smile. I just sat there, watching the truth work faster than any revenge ever could. He stood abruptly. "You're not going to take his word over mine." Diana raised a hand. "Sit down." When he didn't, 2 people from security appeared at the door like they'd been waiting for the cue. Kelly walked in behind them, holding a folder against her chest. She looked at me, then at Chris. Her eyes were glassy, terrified. I didn't know," she whispered, mostly to herself. Diana turned to her. "Kelly, you'll be placed on administrative leave while we review your role in this matter." Her lips parted, trembling. I was following directions. "Then you'll have a chance to explain which directions, and from whom," Diana said coldly. Chris finally found his voice. "You can't just." But they could. Security flanked him. He turned to me, eyes wild, face flushed. "You set me up." I met his gaze, calm. "No, Chris. You set yourself up. I just stopped cleaning your mess." He lunged forward like he wanted to say more, but Diana's voice sliced through the room. "Escort him out." They did. The sound of his footsteps, heavy, angry, then fading, was better than any applause. When the door closed, Diana let out a slow breath and turned to me. "You've handled this with more restraint than most would. For now, take the rest of the week off, with pay. We'll be in touch." I nodded once, stood, and left the room. The fear was gone. What replaced it was precision. I walked down the hall. The chatter had stopped completely. People avoided eye contact. By the time I reached my desk, my badge access had already updated. HR had moved my credentials to temporary remote status. When I shut down my computer, I saw my reflection in the black screen. Same eyes, same shirt, but something was gone, or maybe something new had taken its place. For the first time in months, I felt steady, whole. That night, I didn't open my laptop. I sat on my balcony, a beer in hand, and just watched the city lights flicker. People talk about revenge like it's fire. It's not. It's precision. It's silence at the right moment. It's knowing exactly when to stop swinging. That morning, I stopped being the victim. 2 weeks later, Diana Richards called me. "The audit has concluded," she said. Everything you flagged checked out. Chris's employment has been terminated, effective immediately. Our head office has also decided to restructure that department. She offered me a position in a different department. I paused, looked around my apartment, and realized for the first time in years, I didn't feel trapped by the walls around me. I appreciate that, I said, but I think I'm done. By the next month, I'd started fresh. New job, smaller company. People who actually looked you in the eye when they spoke. The irony still makes me smile sometimes. They called me too cautious. Turns out, that's what saved me. I wasn't a hero. Just stopped letting other people write my ending.